Yeah, that's good. All right, so lengthwise block 1 inch from the bolster. Then this is gonna line up with T12. So the bottom of the ribs, that last vertebrae, if you kind of follow the shape of the rib cage, that last vertebrae at about the middle of the back, that's gonna be where the block lines up. For me, the block is about the length of the thoracic spine, so it works out pretty well for me. And then the head should be a little bit higher than the block. Not lower than the block and not at the same level, but a little bit higher, so that the chin can come slide down toward the forehead is higher than the chin, I mean. And then extend the legs. Yeah, that looks good. So make sure you're centered. Make sure you're properly adjusted. See that the buttocks are moving away from the lumbar so that the lumbar is widening and lengthening. And some people with a very long trunk, if you want to put a rolled blanket under the low back, that's also fine. So settle here in Salamba Shavasana, supported Shavasana. So we're in Salamba Shavasana. So there's a long flat block, vertical, and then a horizontal bolster. And the block should be about 1 inch away from the bolster. Flat block. Can you move the camera back a little bit so that I can see your whole mat? That's good. So the block is for the thoracic spine. So put it, so it will align roughly with the bottom rib to the base of the neck. Then start with legs bent. Always go down with legs bent, because you have more control over your pelvis and your spine with the legs bent. And then puff the chest, come down to the elbows, align the bottom rib with the end of the block, and then carefully lie down. So pranayama, we have to be extra precise because we're working with the energy, the energetic body. Adjust the bolster. So you're too much toward the waist. Slide up, slide down a little bit more, Ava. Slide down toward the foot side a tiny bit. And then adjust the bolster so it's under the head and neck, but not under the shoulders. If you're coming up and down, make sure you do so carefully, mindfully. So the top of the block will align roughly with the top of the shoulder blades. Come more, don't move your props, Ava, just slide down 1 inch toward the foot side. Slide down 1 inch toward the foot side. The lumbar should widen and lengthen, okay? Chin down, chin down. Okay, yeah, that looks good. Now, and then release the arms. Soften the elbows, soften the palms. Release the little toes toward the floor. Okay, Salamba Shavasana, supported Shavasana in preparation for pranayama. But first we just settle into the asana. First we just settle into Shavasana. Even though you've just recently woken up, to kind of like release those last little particles of sleep and to refresh yourself with a quiet mind. Sometimes in the morning, our minds are very busy and active. So, but the body is well rested. So the body is ready for pranayama, but take a moment to quiet the mind. So let the frontal brain recede toward the back brain. Let the back of the skull lengthen away from the neck. Shoulders descend. The shoulders kind of wrap around the block. And the collarbones broaden. As if there was like a sandbag on each corner of the shoulder, let the collarbones descend and widen, so that the chest is higher than the shoulders. Feel the back ribs spreading on the block. Soften the jaw. Soften the root of the tongue. Shrink your eyes to the back skull. And then observe the normal breath. As you observe the diaphragm, you'll notice the effortless movement of the rib cage. It just naturally moves with the rhythm of the breath. The resting breath, it will just move a little bit. So don't try to exaggerate the movement of the ribs right now, but just observe the natural movement of the rib cage. We're using this block today to enhance our awareness of the rib cage and to encourage the movement of the rib cage. So now, let the block be a teacher to the rib cage as you inhale. And as you inhale, you're going to be creating a vessel for the breath. Similar to the block. And as you exhale, move the abdomen back and down. Sorry, back and up toward the head side as you exhale, to maintain the structure until the very end of the exhale. So now allowing the breath to become slower, softer. Slow, soft inhales, slow, soft exhales. On the slow, soft inhales, feel the rib cage expanding. The block will give you very concrete feedback on the expansion of the rib cage. Feel the rib cage expanding three-dimensionally as you inhale. And you're creating a vessel, you're creating a structure, you're building a container for the breath on the inhales. On the exhales, maintain that structure as the abdomen moves up and back until the very end of the exhale, let the structure kind of fade. Let it become softer and blurrier. And then with each inhale, reestablish that structure, that vessel. You can picture like a house or a clay pot, or use the image of the block. As you inhale and as you exhale, you maintain the structure, but it becomes a little softer, like a blurry photograph, or like a slight fade from a cinematic perspective, like a fade out as you exhale, maintaining the structure until the end of the exhale, and then you let it soften. Then on each inhale, expand that structure again. Your clay pot, your house of the rib cage. Feel the rib cage responding to the breath, accepting the breath, containing the breath, holding the breath, and then exhaling. First, bring the abdomen up and back to start deflating the lungs, to push the diaphragm up to empty the air out of the lungs, and feel that structure becoming a little faded out, a little blurry. At the end of the exhale, let it soften. And then on the inhales, expand that structure again. Continue along these lines for another minute or so. The breath is very soft, not at all harsh, not at all aggressive. So not to the point where you feel like you have to take recovery breaths in between. Just soft, growing into Ujjayi. Control the exhales and make the exhales slower now. Slower, softer exhales. So on the exhales, you're retaining the structure, the container, the vessel that you've created on the inhales, but it's getting, the borders are getting kind of softer, faded out, and then soften at the end, soften the rib cage at the end of the exhale, and then expand it again on the inhales. Do 3 more breaths. 3 more. Slower, softer exhales. After your 3 breaths, return to normal breathing. The resting breath, the recovery breath. And then when you're finished, bring your hands to rest on your abdomen. And bending your legs one at a time. Roll to your right side, roll off the block to your right side. And then sit up. All right, have a blanket. Turn your bolster sideways horizontal bolster, and have a blanket. So sitting on your bolster, facing the camera. Now bring your left leg in, your left leg and then right leg in Swastikasana. And take your blanket to support the legs. Put a little bit more blanket under the lower leg so that the legs can be more or less even. So the purpose of the blanket, there's a few things going on here. It's giving us a little something to push the knees into, and also a little support to level off the legs. So even though Swastikasana is an asymmetrical position, with the help of the blanket, I can sit a little bit more symmetrically, meaning the weight is a little bit more even on the buttock bones. And then from there, I can lift the inner spine. So press your hands down, bring your knees closer together, Abha. Knees closer together, yeah. And then get that blanket support under the lower leg. And then press your hands into the bolster at your sides, and then feel the inner buttock bones. And then from there, as the inner buttock bones, the inner edge of the buttock bones press down, then lift up through the inner line of the spine. So right and left sides of the inner line of the spine. So you can picture like two channels on either side of the spine lifting up as you lengthen the knees forward and down. Roll your shoulders back. See that the sacrum, just pat your sacrum, put your hand on your sacrum and make sure that the sacrum is perpendicular to the floor. Not pushed forward, not rounded back, but perpendicular to the floor. And then from there, the spine rising up, lumbar wide. If you feel like your belly button is coming forward, it means that your lumbar is narrowing. Instead, pull the lower abdomen up and back so that the lumbar feels wide, but not so much that the sacrum rounds. Then lift up through the spine more and more. Spread across the collarbones more and more. Balance the head at the top of the spine. From here, bring your palms onto your thighs, near your hips. So the palms are toward the top of the thigh and then the outer elbows back. Sit up very tall. When we take our hands off the bolster, then we tend to tilt a little bit. So recreate that center line. Align the crown of the head over the tailbone. Recreate the perpendicularity of the sacrum and the broadness of the lumbar. Then lift the entire spine up, lift the entire rib cage up, the shoulders back. From here, lift the chest, look up with the head spread across the collarbones. As you look up, pull the cervical vertebrae in, the neck vertebrae from back to front, and then bring your head down, chin toward the throat, head down, and lift the chest to meet the chin. Gaze downward. Eyes are soft. Shoulders back. Abdomen pulled up and back. Palms on the thighs, palms on the thighs. Okay. Take a slow, soft inhale. Take a slow, soft exhale. Extend the pause and then inhaling, creating that structure, the vessel of for the inhale. Inhaling, spread across the chest, expand the ribcage three-dimensionally, and then exhaling, draw the abdomen up and back, maintain the height and breadth of the ribcage, and then at the end of the exhale, let the ribcage soften. Inhale again, recreating the structure, the vessel, the container for the breath. The entire ribcage is expanding to receive the breath. Diaphragm pulls down, and then exhaling, diaphragm pulls up and back, abdomen pulls up and back. The structure, the ribcage stays expanded until the very end of the exhale. Keep the shoulders pulled back. Until the very end of the exhale, let the ribcage soften. And then take another inhale. Slow, soft inhale. Feel the ribcage expanding in all three dimensions. The container, it's like you're building a house, and the house is taking shape here with the power of the breath. And then when you turn the corner to make the exhale, you maintain the structure that you've created. Slow down the exhales now. Start to make the exhale slower and softer. Abdomen is pulling up and back. At the very end of the exhale, let the structure soften, fade, becomes a little blurry. And then on the inhales, sharpen the structure, sharpen the boundaries of the structure, sharpen the defining markers of that structure. Feel the structure expand to receive the breath, to receive the prana. Now start to make the exhales slower and softer. Deliberately slow down the exhales to slow down that fade out. So it's like a slow fade. Not to the point of strain or force. And at the end of the exhale, let the ribcage soften. And then start again. Inhaling into that expansiveness, the broadness, the firmness. It's a firm container, like that block behind your back. It's a firm container. And then slower, softer exhales. Make the exhales longer than the inhales. Every once in a while, make sure that you're still rolling your shoulders back, pinning the shoulders back. Make sure your head is still down. See, the head wants to come up. Keep your head down. The inhales, we naturally want to lift our head, but keep the head down. Not to lean forward, not to lean back, but find that height. It's significant physical effort to hold the seated pose. Do 3 more cycles. 3 more cycles. This is Ujjayi stage 1. Actually, Ujjayi stage 2. Bahya Ujjayi. On the inhales, creating that firmness. On the exhales, maintaining the structure as the breath fades out. And then just softening the structure at the very end of the exhale. After your 3 breaths, then keeping your eyes closed, then lift your head up and just sit quietly for a moment after your 3 breaths. And then stretch your legs straight. Cross the other way. Okay, so now take the right leg, then the left leg. After you've given your legs a chance to recover, then cross the opposite way. So we'll end with a few cycles of Brahmari, okay? Brahmari is the hum. So when you take your blanket, let me just show you something. So when you take your blanket in about this shape, approximately this shape, okay? Yeah. So fold it one more time. Yeah, like that, like I showed us that shape. Now from here, so you cross your legs, you let your legs be what they are. Okay, so naturally in Swastikasana, one knee is lower than the other. Without lifting your legs, slip the blanket underneath. So if you lift your legs and then tuck the blanket, then the groins harden and the knees don't really get to release down. Let the knees release down and then just tuck the blanket in without lifting the knees. So it's a very small movement. It's not a big movement. It's a very small adjustment, okay? Now from here, sit up tall again. Bring your hands to your lap and then Jalandharabandha, head down again. We're going to end with a few cycles of Brahmari. So what I suggest is that we direct the Brahmari toward the eye region and the upper sinuses. So the sinuses below the eyes and behind the eyes and in the forehead region. So it's going to be a rather high-pitched hum. So sometimes we do Brahmari in the jaw, throat, chest. There are all different ways you could do Brahmari. But today I suggest we do Brahmari for like this upper sinus region. I'm thinking about the wildfires, I'm thinking about the hurricanes and kind of clearing out this area of the head from the congestion that may have followed the storms and the fires. So from here, exhale. Take a slow, soft inhale. Slow, soft exhale, just to clear the way, clear the path. And then a slow, soft inhale. Remember, building that structure, building the container for the breath. Exhaling on the hum, high-pitched, and the eyes, nose region. Then let it fade out. Take a slow, soft inhale, slow, soft exhale. Then repeat. Slow, soft inhale. Humming so that you feel the vibration in your eyes and nose region, the sinuses behind. So soft inhale, so soft exhale, and then 3 more cycles on your own. 3 more cycles of Brahmari. The bumblebee. Throat soft, chin down. Have a feeling of the back of the skull moving toward the crown of the head. And the crown of the head moving down toward the forehead, forehead moving down toward the chin. But shoulders still back, not to let the cervical spine round. Chest, lift the chest to the chin rather than the chin to the chest. Lift the chest to the chin. And the Brahmari on your own. After you've done 3 cycles of Brahmari, then keep your eyes closed, but raise your head. What's really nice is the silence after Brahmari. And then stretch your legs out and lie down. Lie down flat on your back. No support unless you need it. But make a habit of bending your legs when you lie down for Shavasana. Otherwise, you're using abdominal strength. And Shavasana is a time to not use our strength, even getting in, getting out, not to use your strength, but to really empty yourself and not be in a state of muscular activation. All right. So completely rest now. Let your breath be soft, gentle, unmediated. We've reached the end of our time. So I'm going to sign off, but you should stay in Shavasana for a few more minutes. A good 5 minutes or so is ideal. So hope you have a wonderful day.